Well, Logan, it can be an embarrassing problem. As summer approaches, you may find yourself sweating a little bit more. You just can't avoid it. But for some folks, they sweat excessively and it's uncomfortable. It becomes a problem. So to explain a new procedure to help with that problem, Dr. Barbara Padilla, board-certified internist, and Cody Landsman, a patient, are both joining us. Ladies, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Dr. Padilla, first I want to talk about exactly what it is. It's called hyperhidrosis. A lot of people think that they sweat a lot in summertime, but this is different,
Yes.
right?
So hyperhidrosis is a medical condition in which a patient sweats excessively and unpredictably. So it's important for the viewer to know that everybody needs to sweat. It's the way the body controls temperature when it's hot or when you're exercising. But these are patients who sweat through clothing and they have no control.
It's not something like if you're going to a big meeting and you start sweating a little bit more in your armpits. This is hands, face,
yes,
the majority of your body.
Yes, and actually sweating through the clothing, so it can be quite embarrassing.
All right. Now, Cody, this was a little bit of a problem for you, right? It started back in high school.
Right. Yes, this has been an issue for me for a very long time, and I would notice in high school I was sweating a lot more than the average person. I would bring changes of clothing with me and keep them in my locker and change throughout the day, only be able to wear white and dark clothing, and I just never really was able to find a real permanent solution to this problem.
What were some of the things that you tried?
I tried different deodorants. I remember watching commercials for each new deodorant that would come out and think, this is going to be the one to do it for me, and it never did. I tried Botox, which was effective, but only for 6 to 8 months, and it was painful and very expensive as well.
And when did you find out about this new procedure?
I found out fairly recently, and I almost was in disbelief at first. I didn't think there anything that was permanent. I thought, no, they must be referring to the Botox procedure, and so I obviously wanted to get this procedure done right away.
All right, so Dr. Padilla, why don't you tell us how it works?
Okay.
Because this is permanent, as Cody was saying. She was thinking that it was too good to be true, but this is real.
Yes. So how the laser works is we use the Precision TX laser, which has a side-firing laser that actually disables the sweat glands. Because the reason you're sweating is you have overactive sweat glands. And by using this laser, we can destroy the glands under the skin.
So it actually just goes after the glands and
Yes.
completely destroys them, so you don't sweat at all?
Well, it covers 20%. Most of the time, there's still a 20% chance of sweating, 80% reduction, but to the point where in the beginning, there may be minimal or no sweating at all.
Now, this involves lasers, so is it painful for people?
Most patients who've done this like Cody, have tried Botox, and they describe it as much more comfortable than the Botox injections itself. There's a little incision that's placed, and then the whole area is numbed prior to the laser. And once the area is numb, they actually don't feel anything during the procedure.
And how long is the procedure?
It takes about an hour.
Okay. And how many procedures do you have to have? A lot of times there's sort of like a cycle or a process.
Oh, it's a one-time
procedure.
procedure.
It's a one-time thing. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. And what about side effects? Are there any? And recovery time?
Actually minimal, and maybe Cody can talk about it because she's actually had it done, but most of our patients are up and about the next day. They just have to wear a compression garment to lessen the swelling in the underarm area, but they go back to work quickly.
All right, so yeah, Cody, tell us about your experience with the procedure.
Yeah, the procedure was not painful at all. I mean, compared to the Botox, that was a lot more painful under the arms. Like Dr. Padilla said, I just wore a compression shirt for a few days. I went right back to my normal activities, and I feel like this is such a huge thing for me to have finally gotten over this hurdle in my life. And I'm 23 years old. I want to concentrate on fun aspects of life and not whether I'm sweating through my clothes. And this is really going to be life-changing for me.
Right. So did you just have the area under your arms done?
Yes, just the area under my arms. That was the only area that affected me.
Now, what are some other areas that are commonly treated?
Well, for the Precision TX laser, we can only use it for the underarm area.
Right now. Okay.
Yes, so people with excessive sweating can sweat through the palms
Right,
and
I know a lot of
soles.
people do have that problem.
So for now, Botox injections are what's used. So there's nothing at this point, laser-wise, that can be used.
Okay. And what about costs? I know it can be an issue for some people.
So to give you an example, Botox injections are anywhere from $1,200 to $1,600 per treatment. This procedure is $2,750 one time. So.
And about how often is the Botox route? How often do people have to go back?
6 to 8 months for another treatment.
Okay, so to do it permanently would be much more advantageous, down the road financially.
That's
Sort of one and done, right?
Right.
Yeah. I have to imagine that you're very relieved. I mean,
I am very relieved. Like I said, this has been a problem for me throughout my whole life, and I'm finally have tackled this issue and can move on.
Well, that's great. But just to be clear for folks watching, it isn't for someone who just wants to stop wearing deodorant. I mean, this is for people who have a serious condition.
Yes, it is a medical condition. So, I mean, it's important to note people need to sweat. You just don't need to sweat excessively.
Exactly.
Right. All right, Dr. Padilla, thank you so much for being with us. And Cody, thanks for being with us.